Hello friends, and welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. It's a particularly cozy, chilly, quite misty day in Edinburgh today actually. I made myself a big cup of tea, and today, well this afternoon, I'm drinking Shibui's African winter tea, which has cocoa beans, roasted chicory root, ginger, rooibos, cinnamon, cardamom pods and black pepper. And I discovered this last year and really enjoyed drinking it. It kind of went away for the summer, warmer months, the spring and summer. But this is the first time this year I'm drinking it and I'm really enjoying it. Just very, very chocolatey, very warming, and just, yeah, perfect for today. Anyway, today's video is just going to be a very casual, very chatty Q&A video. I'd been planning to film this for over a month now, and I had this grand plan of bringing you along, taking you around Edinburgh for a nice long walk and to showing you sort of all my favourite places and stopping off along the way to answer questions. I was just overthinking it basically, and today I thought, why not? I don't have anything on this afternoon. Why not just sit down and have a little chat and stop overcomplicating it? Maybe in the next Q&A video, I will do my idea of a walk and talk, but today it's just going to be this. So if you'd like to join me for the next little while, just listening to me chatter on, you're so welcome. And I also wanted to thank you all so much if you sent questions in. Even if you didn't and you're just watching, it just means so much to me. And I don't want to get too mushy right at the beginning of the video, but I'm genuinely so grateful. I was just thinking on this the other day how generally, or not generally, but quite often, social media and the internet can be quite a dark place, and comment sections are often not the most pleasant places either. And I just always feel so grateful when I look at the comments on my videos, how supportive, how lovely and just wonderful you all are. So thank you all so much for making this such a lovely community. I don't know how else to say it, but thank you all so, so much. Yeah, I'm just beaming at the thought of it. Oh yes, before we jump into the questions, in case you're very new here and you haven't watched too many videos, I did film another Q&A last year, which I will leave at the end of this video in case I don't cover some of those points. But just briefly, my name's Shauna. I'm 30. I was born in Malaysia. My dad is Malaysian, my mum is Scottish. And for the first 10 years of my life, I lived in Sarawak in Malaysia. And once I got to the age of 10, various reasons, such as I went to a Chinese school for the first 10 years of my life, which I really loved. I had the best time. I met wonderful friends and such fond memories of that experience. I genuinely wouldn't trade my early primary school experience for anything. Had the best time. However, as you sort of progress through the Chinese, even Malaysian Chinese schooling system, the pressure does amp up. And my mum had started to notice that even though I was just like 8 or 9 years old, I was getting quite stressed about school, and she really wanted me to come here and also experience a Scottish schooling system, which is very vastly different. I also had a great time here, but it's very different. And I think the plan probably for them was for me to go to high school here and then university here as well. And the other thing was unfortunately, my granddad, who I call my dai, had just passed away as well, and my granny was by herself. Obviously my uncle and aunt were pretty nearby as well, but my mum just felt that she also wanted to come home. I'm pretty sure those are the reasons why we moved here, amongst other things I'm sure, but those were kind of the main things. So yeah, at the age of 10 I moved to Scotland. I moved specifically to Fife, and for the next, I don't know how long, the whole sort of last 2 years of primary school and the whole of high school, which was 6 years, I was in Fife. And then for university, I moved to Edinburgh, which I pretty much have just stayed here on and off. I go back to Fife a lot, and during the whole sort of 2020 to 2022, those years I spent in Fife. But other than that, I've been in Edinburgh and very happy to be here. So that's kind of, I think, a brief summary. I studied business at university. I went to the University of Edinburgh. And yeah, I think that's a very brief summary. Okay, so our first question is from Maria. I would like to know more about your job, career, besides your YouTube channel. Tell us a little bit more about it. Okay, I always find this question really hard to answer and also very long-winded, so I'm going to try my best to keep it very short and brief and start off from when I left university. The first job I had was working with a small family-run company who does short-term letting, and they've been doing it for a long time, pre-Airbnb, and they were looking for a social media manager to cover maternity leave. So I'd actually applied for the job the previous year when I was still at university and hadn't got it. But Louise must have quite liked my application because she came back to me, and by that point I'd graduated and was looking for something to do. And I just had no idea what I wanted to do throughout university. It was actually quite worrying to me, and I know that's a very common thing, but I think for me, when I had friends around me who just seemed to know, like a friend of mine discovered her love for accountancy and continued through that and got a really good job at an accountancy firm. And I was nothing that they were sort of presenting me with was inspiring. So I left with no idea, no clue what I wanted to do when I graduated. So thank goodness, and thank you to Louise, and praise God that I got that job at Dickens, because it really gave me so much experience. I got writing about Edinburgh Weekly, which is something that I had no experience in. I ran their sort of Facebook. I did newsletters and photos. It was a really interesting year. But after the year, I started to have businesses reach out to work with me through Instagram, which is incredible. And I also started writing blogs for other people. So another company was Minimac. I did their blogs for a little while. They are also a small independent company run by two brothers, and they do tours of Edinburgh in a Mini Cooper. They also do Highland tours in another vehicle. So I was writing blogs for them, and then something very special came along. I actually had to dig it out of my bookshelf there to show you. I mentioned this in the last video, and I got a few comments who didn't know I'd written a book, and I'm not surprised because I don't talk about it that often. But around about the beginning maybe of 2019, a publishing company reached out to me and invited me down to have a meeting at their office in Leith. And I didn't know what the meeting was about. I had never heard, well, I don't mean to, but I didn't really know anything about publishing companies. I hadn't heard of them. And when I got into the meeting with them, they pretty much sort of pitched the idea that they wanted to work with an Instagrammer to create a coffee table book about Edinburgh and all of its sort of picturesque spots, Instagram-worthy spots. Would I be interested? And I was just so shocked, and it had been a dream of mine to at some point work on a book, but I didn't think it would come this quickly or this easily. It literally fell into my lap. So on the bus home, I remember just phoning my mum, like shell-shocked. I think I'm writing a book. I think I'm going to be spending the next 6 months working on a book. So this is my book. It is quite old now. I know that a few of you have bought it and are thinking of buying it. I just want to let you know that it is from 2019. Sadly, quite a few places have closed. So yeah, it's such a pleasure. I went around visiting some of my favourite small businesses, interviewing them. I included some of my favourite areas in the city, and yeah, it was such a pleasure, such a privilege to have worked on this book. And then after 2019. I think we all know what happened after 2019. Work dried up for me. Instagram, there wasn't any jobs coming in, because prior to that I'd been doing press trips, I'd been working with various different brands, but a lot of them travel related, which we all know that you couldn't travel during that time. So thankfully, I'm ever so grateful to a company called Hidden Scotland, who brought me on as a freelance writer, and I wrote about Edinburgh every month. I think I did 2 or 3 blogs about Edinburgh every month, and focusing on different neighbourhoods in the city. And I learned so much. I discovered areas of Edinburgh that I didn't know about further out. Even places like Castorphine I wasn't very familiar with, Balerno. I just worked my way through all the sort of different neighbourhoods, and I'd read books about the cities, because also I had so much time. So if I was to redo this book, I'd have so much more. I think I might actually be overwhelmed if I was going to try and write a book now, because it might have to be just a huge book. I'd feel so bad leaving an area out anyway. So I worked with Hidden Scotland on online articles. I wrote a few articles for their magazines as well. And then work kind of changed again. YouTube had always been a passion of mine. I really enjoyed, it was such a hobby. But I never thought that I could earn any kind of living off of YouTube. I never thought I could earn any living off Instagram either. So I was still getting some Instagram work. But it gave me a lot more time just to put out videos and have fun. And this is the part where I'm just so grateful to you all for watching, for coming along on the journeys, because I never would have guessed. This is really such a dream job for me. I have the best time filming YouTube videos, bringing you along on adventures, and that is actually the biggest portion of my current income coming in, just from you all watching and watching the adverts on the videos as well. I still do Instagram collaborations. I did one with Le Creuset just recently, and I worked on the bookshop day one, so I do still do Instagram collaborations as well, and occasionally like trip.com sponsors a video as well. So it's just lots of different incomes coming in from all over the place. I know that was a very, very long answer to Maria's question. Okay, so the next question is from Dirk, and Dirk asks, did I ever consider offering expensive private tours, bespoke holiday packages of Edinburgh and its surroundings? Would love to. I've thought about this quite a lot. I don't know how I would do it. In university, I did try to bring in some income, because every student does need some income, and I thought it would be fun to give tours of Edinburgh, and Instagram tours specifically, so just bringing people to areas that I would obviously do the sort of famous ones like Old Town or Dean Village, but I'd also bring them to smaller areas that I thought was really sweet, and I had a really good time. But because it was just me, it was not a professional, nothing was very professional about it. When it came to payment of said tours, most of the people were very upright and paid me as they, but other people didn't maybe, I can't think of the word to say, but they only paid what they thought of the tour instead of the agreed upon price. Maybe we should say that. And I remember the tours being very affordable. I think I charged maybe like 20 or 30 pound for a private tour for like a few hours. I don't know. I remember my dad just like, why are you charging so little? But yeah, it would be really fun to do a tour. I feel like it would be really fun to almost collaborate with a company or something, and I'm a little bit scared to go out and do it on my own, because I don't know how to do that. I'm also very much an introvert, so I wouldn't be able to do them very regularly because my social battery would just be dead, and I would want to be very fully charged for, like full of energy for each tour and not sort of just lagging while showing you around the city. But yeah, it is something that I really like to do because I really enjoy showing friends the city. I really love showing you the city and bringing you around, and I guess that's why that's sort of my equivalent. I can't at the moment do maybe private tours, but this feels like I'm giving you a tour when I'm taking you around, and I'm hoping to do more of that maybe in the coming next year. A bit more of maybe a video all about if I was recommending, if a friend was coming to the city and I was showing them around for a day and they'd never been to Edinburgh before, where would I take them? I was thinking of that sort of video maybe. Did I ever consider writing a second edition of your book? Because a lot of places, as I mentioned, have closed. Potentially. They've never reached back out again, Black and White Publishing, so I don't know. It would be really nice to update it, but we'll see, I'm not sure. Okay, there's quite a lot of questions, so I might just pick one, but DL asks, will I be returning to visit other states in Malaysia in the near future? I have no travel plans at the moment, so I'm not sure. Would love to revisit Malaysia, but I have no plans at the moment. What is your preferred genre of books? I would always say classic crime, cozy murder mysteries, but as of recent, Persephone books. Really enjoying all of the books that they publish. Also, is Scotland well connected with public transport? Parts of it, I would say. I think the Lowlands, so like Glasgow, great, Edinburgh, great, Fife, pretty good as well with regards to buses. It used to be a whole lot better. We had a really good train network, like lots of little train stations, but obviously that was all taken away. So sort of pretty good public transport. Depends which country you're talking about as well in comparison, I suppose, but I think pretty good. I think once you go to the Highlands, it's not as easy. I don't think they've got such good public transport. Oh, I love this question. Carrie asks, hi Shana, hope I'm not too late to ask a question. Nope. I noticed you're fond of animals. Did you have any pets growing up? Where did your love of animals originate from? I don't know where the love of animals originated from, but I love pretty much any four-legged anything. Count me in. I did have a pet growing up, and I love the opportunity to talk about her. Oh, she was such a sweetheart. Her name was Bonnie. She was a mongrel with lots of attitude and just the best first dog you could absolutely hope for. She was black and she had little black spots on her. I'll try and include a photo somewhere as well. She was just the best dog you could possibly imagine. I had no idea, like I'd been wanting a dog for a very long time, and one day, this is a story that my mum told me. One day my dad just arrived home with a dog, and my mum was just so surprised. Where did the dog come from? How did you get a dog? And my dad had just taken it into his head that let's go get Shauna a dog. So Bonnie came into our lives. I think Bonnie was somewhat of a stray dog prior to that, and she was also, I'm not sure if she was from a farm or something like that, where she kind of belonged to some people, but she wasn't really a pet either, if that makes sense. A bit of a stray, a bit of a, yeah. So when she moved in, she became a princess. She got the best treatment and a loving family. She became part of the family, actually. But for the first wee while when we had Bonnie, she hid outside. She refused to come near us. We would just put food out. The food would disappear. We would replenish the food. And eventually she trusted us and came out from hiding, and that was it. So when we moved here, unfortunately, it was just too much to bring her with us, with quarantining her and all of that stuff. It would have been so traumatic. It was such a long flight. So she actually went to live with a family friend. My Auntie Susan took her in, and she had a really good life with my Auntie Susan. So that is Bonnie. Ooh, okay, Emily asks, favourite Austen novel or classic in general? I love a classic. I really enjoy Pride and Prejudice. I know that is probably something that everybody says. It's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Jane Austen. I've only really read a few of her books. I've read Pride and Prejudice. I've read Northanger Abbey, and I've read one more. I'm forgetting which one now. I'd really like to read Emma. I've partially read Emma, but not fully. So it would be really good to read Emma, because that is one of my favourites to watch. Actually, I haven't watched that for a while. Maybe watch that tonight. I really like the Johnny, is it Johnny Miller? What's his name? He played Sherlock in Elementary. And the girl, oh, what's her name now too? Anyway, I'll just pop it on the screen. That's my favourite version of Emma. As for classics, Count of Monte Cristo, loved it. One of my favourite books. I'm hoping actually to reread it over sort of the end of this year, you know, that sort of Christmas, New Year period. I read it, I think in 2023 over that period, and had the best time because I was just relaxing. I was doing my jigsaws and I was listening to it sometimes. I was reading it physically sometimes. And because of the way that book is written, it was written to go in a sort of newspaper or magazine. So he would write a section and publish it, that sort of thing. So it feels, when I personally was reading it, it felt like watching a TV series where there was different episodes. And because he's written like that, some parts do drag on a bit, because I think he got a bit bored because of how big the novel is, that sometimes he goes off on strange tangents that I think this time round I might skip over. I do really enjoy reading a classic, but as I was thinking over there, I had to come and raid my bookshelf because I actually don't know that I've read that many classics. I don't know if Rebecca is considered a classic, but is one of my favourite books, and this is my mum's lovely edition. I would love to reread this again at some point. Wuthering Heights, look at this beautiful cover. Isn't this such a lovely edition? I read this maybe a few years ago, and I don't know, once I finished the book, I don't know if I would say necessarily that I enjoyed it, but it felt very impactful and it felt very epic. I really enjoyed following the different generations throughout the book, and when I finished it, I just felt like, wow, that is quite the story. So I would say I enjoyed that one. Another one of my absolute favourites is The Scarlet Pimpernel, and I just figured that was definitely a classic. Such a fun, I really enjoy an adventure story, an adventure movie. So if you've not read this one and you enjoy an adventure, I think you might quite like it. I have read it maybe twice already, maybe 3 times. Really love that one. And lastly, another one on my bookshelf is Wind in the Willows, another lovely edition that my mum found in a charity shop with really nice, look at those lovely illustrations. This is just one from my childhood that just will forever be such a cozy read to me. Although there was one chapter in it where Molly, so basically in the story, Molly sets off on a little adventure. He gets tired of spring cleaning his little home, and he meets Ratty, and the two of them go off on little adventures. But there's one chapter where Molly remembers about his home, and he brings Ratty there, and it's just such an emotional chapter. I remember it being quite moved as a child, and even reading it now. But anyway, I think those are the ones I have on my bookshelf that I can see, but would love to read some more in the future. Okay, next question from Meredith. What's your favourite season in Edinburgh? Oh, that's a tough one. I really enjoy pretty much every season in Edinburgh, which I know is a cop-out, but there is something about spring. I think previously I would have said autumn, and I do really enjoy autumn. It's such a beautiful season, the colours of the trees, but it is quite unpredictable, and it is quite a short, quick season. And it tends to be a very windy season too, which is maybe why I don't enjoy it. But there's something about spring in Edinburgh where the days are longer, starting to get longer. I love snowdrops and crocuses all popping up, and yeah, it's just such a beautiful time. And the cherry blossoms and the start of picnic seasons. Maybe potentially spring or autumn. Yeah, maybe spring and then autumn. Is there anything about Edinburgh that's changed that you miss? That is a very good question. Oh, definitely, but I suppose a lot of my favourite cafes and coffee shops have closed, but I know that that's not anything new. That's just the cycle of business, unfortunately. Yeah, that's a good question, Meredith. I'm actually not sure, but that's a very good one. Maybe if I have an answer, I will put it on the screen. What's a book from childhood that shaped you? I think I have an answer to this one. I was an avid reader of the Famous Five, big fan of the Famous Five, read so many of their books, and I think maybe in part because of them and because of my mum, I love exploring. I love visiting new places and having mini adventures, and there's a few of my friends who grew up reading the Famous Five, and I feel that we all have that similar adventurous, exploring spirit in us somehow, and we love an outdoor picnic, or yeah, I think the Famous Five. Tracy, thank you for your questions, Tracy. Does my dad ever appear on camera? He does appear in one of the videos I filmed fairly recently where I was in Fife and I was cutting the grass, and he was showing me, we had a new lawnmower, and he was letting me have a shot at it, and it cut really well. So he does appear in that video, but just not as comfortable on camera, I think, and has never mentioned wanting to be in the vlogs, so I don't want to pressure him. Do I have siblings? Nope, only child here. Do I drive? Unfortunately not. I do regret that. I would enjoy driving, I think, especially as you get older. You know, it would be nice to be able to take your parents to appointments or that sort of thing. Me and my friend were talking about that recently. She's learning to drive. We're about the same age, and that was one of the things that she was talking about. And also it would be wonderful to take you along with me and just head up or head down or off an adventure without thinking about how do we get there, how much is it going to cost public transport wise. But it's also very expensive to keep a car, especially in the city as well, parking permits and then obviously like insurance and buying the car and maintaining the car. So I don't drive, would like to drive, but also don't think I could afford to keep a car either. So Claudia asks, apart from Scotland, what is a special place that you visited abroad and that really stole your heart, if there is one? I'm the sort of person that wherever I go, I get very attached to the place. So everywhere I've been, I would love to revisit. I think, if I had to pick, if it was a holiday, I'm thinking of two specifically. I haven't been on that many. I don't really go abroad that often actually. But I think towards the end of university, my dad was on a course for work in Italy. What a nice place to have a course. And my mum and I went to visit him, and he was based nearish Milan, and we stayed on one of the lakes called Lake, I'm going to butcher this, I'm so sorry if you're Italian or if you can speak Italian. Maggiore, I want to say it's Maggiore or Maggiore, I'm not sure, but we had the best time there. I think my mum and I were there for maybe 10 days. We visited so many little places along that river, that lake, like Stresa. We went to Isola Bella. We went to, there was like a fort that we visited as well. And then we took the train up to, I feel like it's something like Asconti or something. And then we got the boat back down the river to where we were staying in Arona. That was a marvelous holiday. I actually have some not so good vlogs from that holiday, which I think I've made private. I don't talk in them, it's just purely clips, and that's really just for memories. But I think maybe that one would love to revisit Italy and all the other lakes as well. That just sounds marvelous to me. Do I like period dramas? Absolutely. And which is a favourite? There's one filmed in Edinburgh that I would recommend. It's called North and South. It's by, is it Elizabeth Gaskell, the book? And it's not meant to be in Edinburgh, but a lot of it was filmed in Edinburgh. Calton Hill features in it. St Stephen's Street features in it. And I didn't know it when I was watching it. It's a really good series anyway. I didn't know that Edinburgh featured in it, and I was just looking at all these places, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that that's Edinburgh, actually. Only when I'm editing this am I realising I only mentioned one, but I also really enjoy the series All Creatures Great and Small that's currently on. I've enjoyed Poldark, I like Poirot and Miss Marple, and yeah, there's just so many. I think I like a period drama because of the setting and the costumes and the world that you get to step into for a little while. So those are just a couple. You see, some of them are just lovely comments, and thank you so much for that. Oh, okay, Clem asks, do the dark winter months in Edinburgh bother you? They definitely did for a while, and I think it really depends on the year. One year I felt very affected by it, and I couldn't figure out why, you know, that year affected me more than other years. But it was actually, I figured out, because I had scaffolding outside these windows for the whole winter months, all of the winter months, it made my flat so much darker and I felt so much lower, whereas I'm so grateful to have these huge windows that even on a grey, gloomy day like today, it's actually quite bright, and you know, I don't need to have the lights on. So I think with just the big windows, I feel okay throughout the winter months, and I know that the days are a lot shorter, but just having that change in mindset, I guess, that this is fairy light season coming up and candles, and the twinkly lights will be out for Christmas. So trying to focus on all the positives of the season. And I think watching, I've mentioned her before, Cecilia's videos, who lives on Svalbard, and they have squirrelies digging in the pots. They have, you know, polar nights for a few months of complete darkness, and she really enjoys it. So just seeing how she makes the most of the darker days. And do I ever feel lonely as well, Clem asks. Not so much, no. I don't think so anyway, thankfully. I phone my parents daily. I have quite a lot of friends that live locally as well, and being introverted as well, I think I'm not as prone to feeling lonely maybe, but I know that I'm also very privileged to have a very good support system. So yeah, I very much sympathise if people don't have that support system, and can totally understand how, especially in winter months, it can feel very isolating. So Rosie Little Cheeks asks, what's something you were scared to do but did it anyway? Sorry, I'm just, 1 second. And it turned out to be one of the best things you've ever done. I laugh at that because generally whenever a new opportunity presents itself, I'm scared to do it. So most of the time I'm scared to do it. The book was a little bit scared to do that, and it turned out well. I've had a few jobs. One job I really wasn't sure about doing and almost turned it down, but thankfully my mum and Claire talked me through it, and they were like, it's going to be great. You know, I think I was just very overwhelmed at that time because it was just the beginning of my mum's health journey, and I felt very overwhelmed anyway. And it was this job working with Lothian tour buses, and I just spent 2 days with, I think his name was Lewis. I can't remember the company now he works for, but they did all of the filming. I didn't need to do anything. And we also had Karen from Lothian Bus Tours. I can't remember their official name, but it's the tour buses, like the double-decker tour buses that go around the city. And we just had 2 days. I just had 2 days spent with them. They were filming me on the bus, and we were just having the best time. So I was very scared to do that job, and I didn't think I could do it. And it turned out to be one of my favourite jobs I've ever worked on. And the funny thing about that was I didn't know prior to working on that job that the little films that we created, or that Lewis worked on, would be shown on most of the Lothian buses. So when people were just doing their daily commute, I was on their little screen for about a year. So that was so funny. And friends would send me photos of them being on the bus, being like, I'm on the bus ride with you today. So I know that's not a big thing, but that job sticks out to me because it was something that I just really didn't want to do. I didn't think I could do it. I was very overwhelmed with personal circumstances too, and it turned out to be one of my favourites. Ali's, I think that's how you say it, asks, do you like beach holidays? Not so much, actually. I enjoy a bit of sun, but I'm not like the biggest. I think coming out of winter, I'm always craving sunshine and a bit of like vitamin D, but I don't think I could lie on a beach for 7 days like some people can, and how much they enjoy it. I would just get a bit bored, and sometimes the sun gives me a sore head, so. Claudia asks about my junk journaling, and I did share it in a previous video, and I'm not doing it regularly, but every time I go on a day trip or an outing or something, I try my best to pick up little bits and bobs. Okay, my lovely Clementine asks, if I were visiting Edinburgh for the first time, what places would you recommend to go and see and visit in Edinburgh and around? So this is, I think it was maybe my lovely Clementine that gave me the idea for the videos that I'm planning on working on at some point. I would try and visit Old Town, so sort of the Royal Mile, sort of first thing in the morning if possible, to try and have that as sort of quiet as possible. And just enjoy wandering the Royal Mile and experiencing it. I know it's very cliched and it's a tourist trap, but there's a reason that it's so popular, because it is the oldest part of our city, and I still am amazed by it walking around there. So if you're going to the Royal Mile, you might want to choose one of either the castle or the palace, because if you're not familiar with Edinburgh, the castle sits at the top of the Royal Mile, and at the bottom of the Royal Mile, the Palace of Holyrood House sits there. So if you enjoy sort of museums or just experiencing something like that, then choosing to visit one of them, and they're very different, so you might want to do that. And then depending on the weather as well, you could also visit the National Museum, which is not far, because it's a perfect place if it's a very rainy day and you just feel like you want to get out of the rain for a bit and wander around, and you can learn a little bit of the history about the city and Scotland and lots of different things. Would also highly recommend going to Calton Hill, because it doesn't take long and it's beautiful. You get an overview of the city. Again, very cliched, but I always recommend Calton Hill. I think if you're coming to visit as well, I would also recommend a few shops to visit to look for souvenirs and gifts for people. So if you're in the Old Town area, I would recommend going to Victoria Street to visit the Red Door Gallery. They're really good. There's also something called I always forget the name of it, the Scottish Design Exchange, maybe, on George Street, and that also has so many talented designers and artists. All of their work is displayed there. Pa Kettle Goat says, my garden is beautiful. Thank you. Most of it is done by my other neighbour, but thank you. I just have this wee bit under my window, but it is a shared garden. Do I rent or own my home? I rent this flat, yeah. One day it'd be lovely to own it, but I'm quite happy renting at the moment. Stevie Blair asks, I've always wondered whether you would fancy writing a novel. I know you love to read and you've published a book. Good question, Stevie Blair. Strangely, at the moment, or in the past, I know that I've done a lot of writing with blogs and everything. I actually don't really enjoy writing all that much. So unless that changes, I get a brilliant stroke of genius of what novel I should write, a sort of story. At the moment, probably not, I think, because I don't think I'm a natural writer. I know that some people need to write to get it all off their chest, and it just, yeah, they really enjoy it. That's not really so much for me. I enjoy the researching, the reading, the discovering, and part of that was my favourite part about writing the blogs for Hidden Scotland, not so much the writing. I just wanted to do the learning about Edinburgh and all the different areas, and then my job was actually to write it. Next question. Juliana McClare asks, I always want to hear about favourite books. So, okay. Favourite books. Taking this very seriously. I'm just looking at my bookshelf there too. So I've mentioned The Count of Monte Cristo, that would be a favourite. The Hobbit I always really enjoy, especially around this time of year. It's very cosy, it's my favourite sort of autumn read. Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, I've mentioned that as well. Oh, A Gentleman from Moscow is a favourite, oh, like absolute favourite. I've read it 2 or 3 times, I've made my mum read it, she really enjoyed it. Oh, and if you're looking for a mystery read, I really enjoyed Josephine Tey's Brat Farrar. Yeah, those are just some of them anyway. I'll maybe pop some more on the screen. Okay, this is an anonymous question. Quite a few questions here. So the person was asking about my new profile picture on YouTube, and it's a wonderful portrait of yourself. May we know who the person who took the photo of you? So my friend Tasha took the photo, and I'll put her Instagram here. And yeah, she's such a talented photographer, and I'm so happy with that photo. Okay. Oh, somebody asks, so him or HM asks, is it expensive to rent in Edinburgh? I don't know. I think so. It's hard to say because it is expensive, but then you talk to those who live in London and I'm like, wow, that's very expensive. So it's very subjective, but it's not cheap to rent in Edinburgh, I'll say that much. Mine was a very God-given situation, so I'm very blessed that my rent is quite affordable, but I know that a lot of friends pay a lot for rent, so I think it is quite expensive, especially if you're living city centre. This question makes me giggle. So is it Gracia asks, where were you when Taylor and Travis announced their engagement? And this makes me chuckle because I wonder if they saw the video where I went to the Eras tour. And I actually do remember, I don't think I would normally, but it's because my friend Ashley and I were just about to hop on a call for a catch up. We're going to do a FaceTime, and I went to the Eras tour with Ashley in Edinburgh, and Ashley sent me a message just before I was about to phone her for our catch up saying Taylor and Travis are engaged. So that was really funny timing. Aina, I'm sorry, I'm really bad with pronouncing. Aina Melina asks, what are your plans for the future? Any projects coming up? Not really. I kind of just go week by week quite a lot of the time, because even when work comes through for Instagram or YouTube and business partnerships, they're often so last minute. Everything is like, drop everything and work on this project. So no plans. I'm also not a very good planner either. I just kind of roll with it. Oh, we're almost at the end because my voice is getting a bit hoarse. I don't know if I've ever talked this much in so long. Dino and Dina asks, have I been in other people's podcasts before? I've been in one podcast before, and that was by Colin. So Colin used to work for Visit Aberdeenshire, and when I went on various press trips to Aberdeen, Colin would always organise those trips. So I got to know him quite well, and he started his own account talking about food, and yeah, it's not the Hungry Hoover. The Food Hoover. So I did go on his podcast, and that's kind of been my first and last podcast, because for some reason I'm so comfortable talking to you right now in my living room. But I got so nervous and so anxious on that podcast, and it was absolutely nothing to do with Colin. It was just purely me overthinking it, that I don't think I want to be on a podcast anytime soon. Okay, so I think actually that was the last question. I'm so sorry if I've missed any questions. And as I mentioned, I answered, I think this time has just been very random, but last time I really went in depth about various different things, I think, and talked about lots of different subjects. So I'll leave that at the end of this video if you want to know even more about me. Then I think there's more topics there, but my voice feels hoarse. I'm feeling rather sleepy now, and I think I actually might go out for a little walk to see how the city is looking. Is it still misty, or has the mist kind of disappeared now, and just get a little bit of fresh air. So if I do that, I'll maybe include just a couple of scenes at the end as well. I mean, right after this, of my walk. Anyway, thank you all so much. If you made it this far in the video, well done. I feel like this has been a very long, very chatty video, and I feel actually quite sick of myself, so I'm hoping that I haven't made any of you feel that. But thank you all so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.